Hi, everybody. So people can hear us. We are just working out the tech. Emma's on it a little more. So I see some people. I'm going to put in the chat window. Hi, everyone. I'm just trying to get Facebook Live to work. And it seems like it's working. But now I just want to put a URL for it. And I'm a little slow when it comes to too many windows and stuff. So where do I go? I'm going to just go to Sequential.
I just emailed the URL.
You emailed it. I'm not checking my email.
Okay.
I got it. It's okay. And if you, Emma, or me are on the Facebook Live, and it's good to be on there in case questions come that way, we got to make sure we're muted. But I don't see it. Do you see it? Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah, cool. Okay. So hang on. I got one thing to fix, and then we're ready. Save. And cool. Well, I think Facebook is working. Emma, are you there just in case? Can you just like look at Facebook now and then and see if people are commenting? Because if they are, we want to answer those questions too. Cool. Okay. I'm just going to start.
Let's go.
Hi, Emma. How are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I want to thank everybody who's here, and I want to thank everyone who's not here, and I want to thank everybody who's yet to come, and whatever. I see slowly some more people are coming, and please interact in the chat window if you like. Tell us where you're coming from, where you're calling from. If you have any questions, just shoot them right now. That's fine too. And I'm just going to sort of dig in and tell you a little bit about what we do, what we are. Somebody's calling from Georgia, cool. I'm gonna share my screen, so you're not gonna see me or Emma for a while. Hopefully I'll still see the chat window. No, I don't see the chat window anymore. I only see my screen. So, what do you see, Emma? Do you just see that picture of Olivia swimming through the spring?
I do.
Cool. Now I'll get my coffee. Anyway, so hi everybody, and thanks for joining us, and thanks for coming to this live Q&A. And again, if you have any questions at all, because I'm sharing my screen at the moment, I can't see them, but it looks like Emma can see them. So Emma, if you have questions, if you are fielding any questions, feel free to interrupt them, or interrupt me, or let people bring them forward at any time, or you can bring them forward. But anyway, so we run the Sequential Artist Workshop. We've been around for about 9 years, and we've done mostly in-person stuff. We are, and I think, let's see if the next screen, there we go. SAW is a real place. It used to look like that. That is divey, right? It's but it's a real place, and we've since moved through that location, but that you see how cozy it was, and how what a nice place it was to work, and how everybody got to know each other. And since 2011, we've been, is that right? Yeah, we've been running year-long programs, weekend workshops, week-long workshops, and things like that. A couple other crazy shots. This is a crazy shot. We shared a space in a really crazy workshop, and we took over that workshop one day and did some live drawing in there. We do lots of figure drawing. We do lots of other things, but mostly we make comics, and we critique them, and we print them, and things like that. We also go swimming, which is why we keep using that picture. That is not some sort of fake stock picture. That's our student Olivia from 2 years ago, drawing underwater. And back in the old days, before the virus, we were all excited about inviting new students down here to come swimming with us and stuff. So maybe that'll happen next year, I don't know. But anyway, so now we had been planning on switching to, or going to online, as well as utilizing our real space, and that's what we're doing. And so we've brought together a bunch of our best material and the stuff that works best online, and are preparing it as a full year-long sort of continuous program to get you really up to speed, and making the kind of comics you're supposed to be making. I have no idea what the next slide is, so let's find out. Oh, that one, we saw that one already. Oh no, it's the same, same building, but different location. At SAW, we've done art shows. I'm really proud of it being a space. Emma, you weren't at that show, were you? That was before.
I wasn't, no, I never saw that space.
It was just before, yeah, just before you came. We've moved so many times, and I know Emma values the space and the placemaking aspect of SAW very much. We get people together, and we get artists together, and we get young artists and older artists together, and we get artists from all over the world together too. This was an art show that was a mixture of our student work, our faculty work, and some artists from different parts of Africa. And it was a really fantastic show, one of the best we ever put on. There's another shot of that. And another thing that we've done is we have student art shows. And so at the end of the year, this is Nadia. She did some really great work that year. And this is Kelsey, who just like banged it out. Oh my God, you didn't know Kelsey either, Emma, right?
Yeah. No, I didn't. But I keep finding her comics around the library.
Did she? Oh, her comics? Yeah, sometimes some of the students will just come and they'll just like print a gazillion copies, and you're just finding them forever and ever and ever. Like, oh, here's another one, because our mini comic organization leaves a little to be desired. Anyway, so we've got a bunch of cool teachers who have really great skills and who have worked hard and who have a lot to offer. The one who's going to be taking some of the drawing, who's going to be teaching some of the drawing for 3 weeks is Sidney Davison. He's, I think this is a character from Game of Thrones. I've never seen it, believe it or not. I'm one of the few people have. So if you are in the chat window and you know which character from Game of Thrones that is, you can let us know. But Sidney is one of these artists who will bring out any tool to draw with, and I think he's drawing like half with a razor blade, half with like a cartridge of ink, and then with a brush and all sorts of whiteout and stuff like that. You can see a toothbrush over there. Anyway, he was really letting this fellow from Game of Thrones really come to life. Anyway, so he'll be doing some of the first couple of weeks of drawing. That's Justine Anderson. She'll be doing the 12 weeks of really intensive work. You'll be learning from her, and she's a genius. And I have this photo here because it's one of the things that sadly we can't replicate online, but we're going to try our best, like that sort of gathering around a mentor, or we even gathering around each other's work and really getting close. But we're replicating it best we can online. We have a really vibrant community, and that's what we're trying to create for you here in this new program. That's me before the pandemic, because my hair's a little shorter. And I don't know what I have to say about myself, except I've been teaching for 20 years, and I love to teach, and I love to just get people to that next place in their comics, that next place where they've made a couple breakthroughs and like they're feeling good about what they're making again. And I don't know, that's just what I do. And you can read some things about me there, and we're happy to answer some questions. This is Emma. Emma, this is the best picture I could find of you. It's a picture of you. So Emma comes, I'm sorry about the sirens, you guys. Emma comes to us from Australia with a master's in creative writing. Why am I talking? You should tell me about you can tell us.
I can tell you about me if you like. Yeah, I did my master's in creative writing, editing, and publishing, and my thesis component was I made a comic. So it was 100+ pages. It was my first ever kind of crack at comics, and definitely made me want to do it more. And from there, I kind of came to comics and kind of teaching or doing workshops through like community arts. So that's what a big part of my focus is, like creating space for people to be in to tell their stories. And I'll be doing a couple of classes in the second term and the fourth one as well.
And what I like about you, and what I like about most of our teachers, is that you're a lifer, near as I can tell. Like when you abandon one project, you just move on to a new project. It's like you never abandon the art form. And you'll see lots of, I see lots of artists who, and they're great artists or whatever, but they'll do a great comic, they'll do 2 great comics, and then you never hear from them again because they got into animation or they got into painting or maybe they got into golf, I don't know. But you seem to be like, all right, I made a comic. What new comic can I make? You know, what, or I'm stopping this comic because I hate it. What other comic can I make?
No, definitely. I feel like comics are the thing I want to be doing forever, whatever form that is.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I can't even imagine what else I would be doing. So let's see what the next screen is. Oh, okay. It says, fine, what's in it for me? Okay, so, so right, you don't want to know about us. You want to know what, how we can help you. How do I learn comics with a computer? That's an old drawing of mine from a million years ago when computers looked like that. I'm sick of not knowing. I'm trying to learn comics. It's another old drawing. One reason we keep showing you pictures of underwater drawing is this program is going to immerse you in comics for 8 or 9 months. It's when you come here, when you come in person for the year-long program, you just eat, sleep, dream comics. But even online, there's going to be a lot of work, a lot of content, a lot of great experiences, and a lot of great new material. I hope, and a lot of chances to share. And so it's really immersive. We really are just gonna let you make and hopefully help you get better. So that's one reason we keep showing that. So I want to quickly tell you about some of the classes really quick. Wait, Emma, do we have any questions yet or anything like that? Should we take a
Not yet. I think we can keep going and save questions that we had from beforehand till a little bit later.
So each, there are 3 6-week sessions. Each 6-week session has 3 classes. So I'm going to tell you about the first 3. One is storytelling. That's with me. And you know what? I'm going to breeze through these really quickly, and then I'm going to change over to another window, which takes a tiny bit of time. And then I'll show you a little bit more depth of some of these. So one is storytelling with me, and we're going to look at like how pictures work and how pictures and time work and stuff like that. We're going to do some silent comics. The next is what we call Western Comics Essentials. It's pretty much Western English speaking history. And there's really, really rich, crazy history. And we're going to try and show you some of the more mainstream stuff, some of the edges of it, and we're going to really try and show you a lot. And hopefully, as you begin to study history a little, you realize that you have a place in it, and you are part of this whole historical path too. And then drawing in the first session for comics, it's going to be a mixture of Sydney doing bodies and gestures and heads and a little bit of perspective and backgrounds, and then I take over and do a little bit about composition and design of a panel. And then we'd have an assignment that we do for 2 weeks. I'm giving everybody a sneak peek at the assignments. There'll be exercises before that, but the assignments are essential. You have to do the assignments to get the certificate at the end of the year. So this is a 4 to 6 page comic of a character going back in time to a comic in Western comics history. At least 1 page must be silent. So we'll guide you through that if there's any questions, but that's what we'll do for 2 weeks after the 6-week session where we've learned all of those 3 things for 6 weeks. And then we'll keep going, and then we'll do in-depth backgrounds and environments with Justine. This picture is 7 feet tall or something like that, which is why it's blurry. It doesn't do what you're going to learn justice, and we'll get a little deeper into that in a moment. And then ideas and vision with me. So that's more about coming up with ideas and letting yourself come up with new ideas, but also really importantly, coming up with personal ideas. And, oh, Emma, that's you.
Oh, that's me?
Yeah.
This is kind of jumping from the history of comics to more just a chance to read some comics in depth and kind of discuss them and see what, or how they can apply to the comics that you're making.
And that's an in-depth reading program class. So like, you know, we're going to breeze through comics history in the previous 6 weeks, but here you're going to go in depth into some various stories, right? And you've got it grouped by theme. And then the week 2, or our second assignment, I'm just going to sneak through these and not tell you much more about them because I kind of like sneaking them in later. And then the third session, which is now we're at January. The first session will be September to mid-October. The next one will be end of October to mid-December. Take the holidays off and come back in January and start with inking and vision. And this is a mixture of inking, and it's true that we are going to require you to get a brush and actually do some work in ink. Final work can be done digitally or any other medium, but this one class we're going to ask you to try and work in ink. You'll be thankful, and you'll be able to tell people at parties that you at least tried it once. But Justine's class is, I call it inking and vision, or we call it that, because you will learn to ink, but you'll also learn, like, she's got a lot of brilliant ideas about what art means and what being an artist means. And so she'll sneak some of that into the last couple of weeks. Really, really great stuff. My last session is called Comic Frontiers. And that's where we will try new things with comics. We'll try telling stories in different time frames, and we'll try telling stories that break lots of the rules that we're used to. And at that point, in that same session, Emma will be, Emma?
Professional practices. So taking all the things you've learned and how you can apply them to like life after a program, life after a workshop. I feel like this is like an accumulations of things I just like learned ad hoc from like other artists, from Tom, from other students, and I felt like it was a chance to share that with people in a more structured way.
Yeah, and we'll talk about printing, we'll talk about distribution, we'll talk about online stuff and everything. You know, so many things change so rapidly, especially online, that anybody who says they're going to give you one answer to like, well, how do you become a professional, or how do you market yourself as an artist? There's as many answers to that as there are artists now. So getting you to think for yourself in that way is really important. It's different than animation, where it's like, how do I get a job in animation? Well, have a great portfolio, move to LA, and go to the right parties. Like, that's the answer. You know, whereas it's different with comics, because you're probably scraping by trying to figure out things for yourself. And then there'll be a third assignment, and then there'll be the next 6 weeks, and actually you'll have about 8 weeks, I think, to do it, a 6-page, fully finished and printed comic that is free form. And we'll break people into groups. We'll find groups that work really well. Maybe those groups will be like roughly 5 to 7 people or something like that. And we'll have some of our freelance mentors help you for those 6 weeks. And you can be free of me and Emma and Justine and some of us for a little while you work with another set of eyes and maybe get some new feedback from a different person. And so we've got some people that will work with us. And we haven't really finished figuring out who those people will be yet, partially because we want to see who you are. We want to see who the students are. You know, if we get tons of people who work in, say, nonfiction, then we would contact Jess Rollison here, who works primarily in nonfiction. But if we get somebody who, you know, if we get mostly students who work in fantasy or something, then we'll find some mentors who work in fantasy, things like that. So we try to really respond to who you are. I have no idea what the next slide is. What do you think the next slide is? Oh, we're going to do weekly Zoom calls. Everyone is loving Zoom. 6 months ago, had you said Zoom, like maybe a tenth of the people would be like, what? I mean, oh yeah, the 10th would know and 90% would be, I have no idea. But now there's like, everybody's on Zoom, I think. Is that true? I don't know. You talking to your parents on Zoom, Anna?
No, we FaceTime.
Ah, right. Well, same thing. I think that is the last slide I have. What I'm going to do real quick is I
think we have a couple of questions.
Great.
While you're changing screens, do you mind if I ask those to you?
No.
Are you ready?
I am.
Okay.
You know, 20 second tag on Facebook. So if they're on Facebook, they're not going to hear for 20 seconds.
Okay, well, this is through the chat window. So the first question is, what is the approximate workload per week, and how long are the classes, and how much homework is required, like in approximate hours? which, did you want to answer that, Tom?
Mauricio is asking that.
Yeah.
Mauricio, I have to text him and say hi. Are you asking for yourself, or are you asking? Mauricio is a good friend and also a comics teacher. So, you know, it's for me. Oh, nice. Hi, Mauricio. It's so nice to hear from you. Are you back? I'm sorry. I'm gonna detour 1 second. Are you back in Boston, Mauricio? We'll find out, because I know he was in California for a while. Anyway, the short answer to that, it's funny because it's in our FAQ, we have that question listed 3 times because people ask it over and over and over again. And the short answer, which annoys everybody, is you get what you put in, right? So as much as you can put in, you'll get that much out. I think you could probably squeak by with 2 to 4 hours a week.
I think a key thing to remember, Tom, is that while there are a lot of the material is available pre-recorded, so it'll become live each week. So
right.
The information is available week to week, but the live components are kind of optional. They're not compulsory at all, and it will depend on the class. So someone like Justine, her interaction will come through the Mighty Network, so through our online network. Whereas I've kind of planned for an hour each week to get together and discuss and have that like face-to-face contact through Zoom. So that time variation is optional. We're giving people options of how deeply do you want to engage, or in what way do you want to engage. If you know you're someone who needs accountability in that way, well, great. We have the network there. We have the video calls there. If you're someone who prefers to kind of sit back and work on your own time, then we'll trust you to that. We'll check in every now and then and make sure you're still there, but that's available to you as well.
And then there's the added question of like, do you do the extra work in most of the studio classes, the drawing class and my classes and stuff, every week there's a little exercise, and it's usually a little one. Like you could probably do the exercises in 10 minutes, you could probably do them in an hour. If you really get on a roll, you could do them in an hour. Some of you are gonna like click stop on that video and you're gonna forget you ever saw it until the next video comes up next week. And you'll be like, wasn't there an exercise? Did anybody do it? Oh shoot, I forgot. I got too busy, whatever. So I know that's gonna happen too, which is why some of the assignments, 1 assignment per session is compulsory, and the other ones are optional. But you'll get more out of it if you do the optional work too. But not everybody has that kind of time. And we know.
Tom, did you see the second question?
Did not see the second question. Did we answer the first one enough though? I don't know. I
think the follow-up question was just clarifying, so 2 to 4 hours per class or 12 hours per week?
No, I mean.
So the 3 courses do run concurrently per session, but across the 3 courses.
Emma's always a little bit disappointed that I let people off the hook as far as how much effort they're allowed to put in. But I'm always like, people aren't going to put in any effort. Yeah, But I
think there's enough material there. If people have the time, they could put in at least up to like 20 hours a week. Like it is that option of how you want to engage.
Yeah.
But another question, Tom, was, are the courses geared towards absolute beginners? And would someone with considerable experience in the comics industry benefit from the courses?
Well, I know it sounds crazy, but I think it'll be fine for all levels. I wouldn't want somebody who's too professional, because then, I would. That'd be great. It'd be like, hey, come, let's chat.
Well, that's a part of it, right? Like peer-to-peer learning.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think at the beginning of every class, it's like, I don't know everything. If there's anyone in the room who like knows more than me, please. Like I appreciate that feedback or that information.
Yeah. I'd say it's mostly geared for people who have already put in a bunch of time and who feel a little bit stuck, like they can't get past where they want to be. So like, I think that's the ideal student. Like, you've done a bunch of pages, maybe a few stories, and you're like, now what? Like, and you need community, and you need some mentoring, and you need some people who've said, oh, I've been here before. Here's a few ways out of that bind that you're in. Here's a few ways to sort of think about that problem differently. And here's some new tools and new techniques. I'm all about the creativity. So I'm like, oh, here's a new way to think about that problem. But other times it's like, no, here's how you ink grass, you know, or, you know, here's how you can create depth in a drawing. So sometimes it's more technical. So I do think it's more for that middle. For the absolute beginners, I think we can hold your hand through it and help you with the super basics. And I mean, I've always loved comics that are drawn by beginners anyway, if they're crude and stick figures. I think I have somewhere over here, I have a Matt Fiesel drawing. It's this small and it's just a stick figure, but it's one of my favorite drawings. It's over there. And as far as like, if you're super, you know, I mean, I don't know if how, like you said, if somebody is very, very advanced and just wants to be here for that time and being part of the community, then sure, there's space for them too, for sure.
I will say, I feel like our year-long program, or at least my experience of it so far, has been that a lot of beginners do come to the program, and maybe, you know, it's only a year. There isn't like a great, you know, radical change in that time for everyone. But I was talking to one of the students who was an absolute beginner in my year group, Tiffany, and she messaged me. She like said, I woke up today and I realized comics is what I want to do forever. Like, it took her, you know, 2 years to kind of internalize this information and realize that like all these paths she was going down, the answer was actually she could be making comics, and she'd be directing, she'd be acting, she'd like be producing and all those kind of things. So that was really exciting for me. I was like, yeah, I know it's after the course, but yes, comics welcomes you. Stay.
When did that happen?
That was literally an hour before this call.
Oh, nice. Yeah. I love Tiffany. That's great. And you know, I mean, Tiffany doesn't even know this. I've mentioned it to you, but I had a revelation about Tiffany too, because she did a lot of work, a lot of great work, but the whole time she was very frustrated. She was trying to turn it into something it wasn't. And a lot of the time I was helping her, I was also trying to help her turn it into that. And then finally, I mean, I'm also very, you know, open and compassionate teacher. So I was also very appreciative of what she was making. But then it was like quiet. It was, you know, the semester was over. It was like, you know, June or something. And I was cleaning up the space, and I came across all these comics of Tiffany's, and I realized like, wow, these are beautiful as they are. And we kept trying to fit it into something else. We kept trying to fit it into something that it wasn't, but on its own, they're so delightful and they're utterly unique. And yeah, they're a little crude, and that's what she was frustrated with, you know, drawing wise. But they have such a unique spirit, and it's because Tiffany's such an oddball in a good way, you know. And so I'm glad to hear that she's sort of taken some time away and said, I'm coming back.
No, me too. I think that actually does come back to a question about the materials, and from a different source of, are the materials available beyond the course? So say, in that 6-week period, can I go back and look at the ones that I was in the 6-week period before?
Yeah, they'll be available so long as we keep paying the bills on the servers and stuff. You know, some places say it'll be forever. It's like, you know, I don't think the internet works that way. I don't think anything's forever on the internet, even though they say it is. Anyway, yes, you have access to it as long as you need it, for sure. Let's see, 1 or 2 comments on Facebook, but I can't really figure out how to, oh, well, whatever. We'll figure it out.
I think they were just questions about joining the video. We
Okay.
have a question from someone on Instagram asking, would the online workshop work for someone who has a precise project? So if you have like a graphic novel you're trying to develop, is this the course?
That's a tough one. I think not. What do you think, Emma?
I agree. I came to SOAR being like, this is the year I'm going to make my graphic novel, but it was the year I got to develop through like a bunch of exercises and learn things through challenging what I thought storytelling was. So, but we have programs for a whole like a precise project. This course will maybe get you there. At the end of the year, you're ready to make a longer project. But yeah,
a couple. So we do have a graphic novel course that we're in the middle of, and we'll certainly run next year as well. It's a 6-month program that's where you self-generate the content. And we have a lot of people sort of working their way through anywhere between 20 and 300-page comics. And if it's a project that you think you can do in roughly 2 months, that free time at the end, which will be, I think, early March to late April or something like that. That free time there is there for you, and you'll still have our guidance in the community, and you'll have the mentors to work for and things like that. So if it's a 2-month project, then it would be fine. But if it's something that you need 9 months for, and it probably isn't, because we're going to be throwing exercises at you and assignments and stuff like that. So that's what I would say to that. But come join us in the graphic novel development course, we call it, and it's on the SOC website. I see a question, Emma. Caitlin says, how much will we be connected with our peers? I think the answer is lots, right? We've had a really robust online community. Private, it's off Facebook. It's what's called a Mighty Network, and we've had that for, I think, a year and a half or 2 years or something now. But it got extremely vibrant during the pandemic. And if the graphic novel community is any sign, it's very, very active, and there's a lot of feedback. I actually wish people are a little shy to post when they don't have anything. And one of the last things I mentioned to everybody in the call was like, just post, even if you don't have much. Like here on my drawing table, hang on, I'm gonna reach it. Like, that's all I did in the past 2 days is that little face. And I was like, I should post this. And that's what I said to the students is like, it's okay, show us where you're at. If you're, because we want to be there with you, we want you to be there with us too. The peer community is really important. In fact, I think, judging from what I'm seeing in the graphic novel group that we're doing, it's the most important thing. And in any decent school environment, when you meet people, you're going to know those people for years to come. And I suspect that'll be true here. It's certainly true in the graphic novel club group we're doing. I call it a club, it's not a club in the group. But I've gotten text messages from so-and-so saying, thank you so much for this course. I've been texting with so-and-so all night. And I'm so glad I met him or her. And yeah, so short answer is a lot, I think.
And also,
go ahead.
I think it's similar to how much time can I spend on this course. It's entirely up to you. I think a lot of people have taken agency, especially in the graphic novel course, and kind of been like, I'm not getting enough peer interaction. I'm gonna create it through weekly Zoom meetings, through gathering together and reflecting on assignments. The vibrancy of our draw jam is that one of the students was like, hey, I was hosting this in person. Can I do this online now? And I think I definitely feel this way, and I hope Tom does as well, that we want people to do exactly what they need. This platform is here. We've been so lucky to be able to gather people in this way, and we want you to get the most out of it. And if that means Zoom calls without us, then absolutely, please.
Yeah. No, I'm super excited by that. Every time I see, and they're kind of regular actually, our student Samantha does a Tuesday afternoon draw jam, I think, and she just posts and she's like, hey, it's Tuesday afternoon, you coming in? And they, I think, just draw kind of quietly. I'm not really sure, to be honest. I haven't been there, and that's great. When people inside our community self-organize and create little pockets of other community, I just love that. It's terrific.
And I think people have also responded to so obviously this is an online program, so there's going to be people from, I think we've got students from Australia, we've got students from here in America, and in terms of time zone, we are trying to organize any live component to, most of them will be appropriate for one time zone, but we try and balance that by having one for people, say, in a different time zone. So say with the draw jam, there's a daytime one and there's an evening one, or
right.
Tom mentioned before, like weekly check-ins via Zoom. We have one in the evening one week and during the day during the other one. Hopefully we're able to like cross over with as many people as possible.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's been really helpful in the graphic novel intensive, having that one in the afternoon, alternating one in the afternoon, one in the evening, one in the afternoon. And that's been helpful to our people in England to be like, oh, I'm not missing out.
Yeah.
And then,
there was a question of, will I need any special technology to participate? I draw on paper and have like a camera, but no iPad. Does that work?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The one thing, and we'll help you get there, the one thing you are going to have to do at the end of the course is make a PDF of your final 6 pages. And we should do a little bit of research also for the people for who that's a hardship, to find out what the quick online versions of that are. And they're out there, so it's not really anything we're too concerned about. But yeah, I mean, SAW is really, the in-person stuff is really lo-fi. We love ink and paper. We usually get the reverse question, which is, can I work digitally, or will you like slap my hands? And we encourage working digitally or anything too, but we are going to ask that you get a fancy brush for the 3rd session in January for Justine's course.
I think part of that question is, I had an answer, but it disappeared. Oh, right. We know that everyone's working from home. We know that everyone has like different circumstances. And so aside from the brush in like the 3rd semester, we're not asking anyone to use any particular tools. Like, we're asking you to use what's at hand. If that's paper and pen, great. If that's an iPad, great. We like obviously prefer kind of the hard stuff, but like what you have is going to be the best thing.
Yeah. I mean,
there was another question
from
the same person about, can I access the content or lessons when I want to? Which is, yeah.
So, yes and no. So once they've been released, yes. But but inside each session, you'll get 1 week's of material released. The old stuff will stay released, so you'll have access to it. But just to keep everybody sort of at the same level with what the new content is, that new content will get released 1 week at a time. But three sessions. So you'll get new history stuff, new drawing stuff, and new storytelling stuff in week 2, and in week 3, and week 4, 5, 6. But that old stuff will stay there for you. And I see Jeremy is asking, will the year-long course help us develop our own art style? Yeah, definitely. Like, that's something I believe very strongly in. I couldn't teach you anybody else's style. You don't want mine.
But it's giving people time to draw, and I think through drawing you discover like what your style is. It's like the doing that teaches you, you know, and the experiencing other comics, the reading and exploring other material.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we really want to encourage you to, and that's what I was saying when I was talking about our old student Tiffany, is like, I didn't realize that her own style was just emerging there, just kind of crystal clear. It was just so Tiffany. But because we were sort of feeding off her disappointment a little bit too much, I think she was like, oh, I'm trying to, it's not, but it came, we figured it out. We were like, Tiffany, that's great. So yeah, I think
there's one more questions about art supplies. So if people are beginners, are we going to make recommendations? Or
yeah, Emma, will you put that list together?
I think actually there is an initial response in, so the Mighty Network, there'll be a private group for the people doing this course, and there is already a response there that we can share more broadly. But it's more of a personal preference. So me as like an artist, this is what I use, and giving people a chance to share in that way.
More often than not, more structure is better, I know, for beginning students, but I tend to, and that tends to be Emma's department a little bit more. I tend to be like, well, what can you find laying around? Or like, you know, do you just have like sofa lint and old magazines? Well, maybe that's all you need, you know, but I understand that people would like some of the structure of what are the recommended materials. And and I have my favorites, and I will mention them, and Emma has that list too. But the truth is the more, it's sad for me because I was raised on ink, and I've been drawing in ink since I was certainly a teenager, if not younger. And I'm sad to say it's not that important drawing ink anymore. It's got this long, great tradition, and there are reasons to do it and reasons it looks great, but a lot of other things look great too. And so I'm not going to enforce it except for that 1 6-week part of the project. Sorry.
Because, well, no, I was going to say in regards to inking, while maybe using live ink isn't important, I think Justine teaches a lot of like things that are applicable to any kind of image making. Like I found it really useful while I've been using Procreate to be conscious of like line weight and how that communicates shadow and kind of depth and things like that. So while it's focusing on the brush, it is kind of thinking about how do you apply this in other ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, as we take a few more questions, I'm going to go through, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to share my Chrome window if I can find it. Give me 1 second while we, let's see. Oops, nope. Let's close that out. Chrome, share, and now it's going to get all crazy. I don't want that. You can see Facebook Live there. Nope, not that. Hold on. Where's my Chrome? No, not that. I think it's this. Sorry, no, I think it's that. I have Facebook open twice. That's no good. No wonder it's all. Okay. So I just wanted to also say, I'll get to the testimonials in a bit. So here we go. So I'm just going to really quickly show you some of, Emma, you can see my screen, right?
Yeah, I can.
Whoops,
I see Comics 101.
Okay, yeah.
Now I see Comics 101 again.
Okay, yeah, sorry. So I'm just going to show you briefly, really briefly what some of the content is. We call this.
Wait, so Tom, do you want to describe what you're using right now? So we talked before about the Mighty Network.
Sure.
This is a different site that people will use to access the course content. So you'll be moving across 2 different formats.
Do you want to explain that? You explain that a little better than I do.
I mean, okay. So what you're viewing now is the interface for the learning content. So we'll have kind of a directory when you sign up, but it's pretty self-explanatory that it comes like each week at a time, and I think you can tick it off, right? Like once it's finished, you can select that you've done it, and at the end you can see how much you've completed, how much you haven't.
Yeah, so long as they click complete, and sometimes people don't, that's fine. But yeah, so there's a lot of material, and it's behind a different set of software. So the Mighty Network, as Emma's saying, is our community, and I'll show that real quick. You know, maybe I'll show it now. Let's see. I'm going to show you what's going on in the graphic novel community. So it looks like this. You can still see this, Emma, as it's loading?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
It's not quite loaded yet.
Yeah, okay.
There we go.
So our year-long program community will look like this. It'll be private, as this one is. It's working a little slow, maybe because I have 7 windows open and they all have video rolling. But you know, we have some featured content, which is stuff we want to remind you of. We have some people posting new work. This is something I wanted to post. We have comments and comments and comments galore. We have new work. Seth is signed up for this course, by the way, Emma. As is Liz, I think. I think Liz and Emma both are. People asking questions, people posting more work, lots of comments, and I don't need to get into too much depth about how this particular system works. It's social media community network, and we can help you walk through it. But you can see that people are in here frequently posting work and getting lots and lots of feedback on it. So I'll just leave that at that. And so that's one place that's called the Mighty Network, and that's where the community lives. Where the content lives, it's going to look more like this. This is a free bunch of stuff that just to get you up and running before we launch. So if you sign up, you'll get all this stuff. We could even make that available for some of you. If you ask and want to send us an email and want to see that, you're welcome to. We actually have a free preview. So here's a little bit of storytelling. You'll see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections long. Some of those have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, one might be just that, a picture and a couple sentences of text. With that, in this instance, there is a 10-minute video. That same video is in PDF form. I sometimes try to do that, and I try and encourage all the teachers to do a little bit of doing it in cross formats, because sometimes one is easier. Like a phone, it's easier to watch a video. A laptop, maybe it's easier for a PDF sometimes, or you're at work or something like that, when there was work. Anyway, and then at the end there's an exercise, and so there's 6 different sections, and that's just storytelling. So that'll get you through from September to mid-October. And then there's drawing, and then it comes with an 80-page PDF that goes a little deeper than what Sydney's giving you in the videos. He's giving you some of his favorite examples of certain kinds of gesture. Oh, I'll just mute my own computer. And looking at different parts of anatomy and giving you different ideas about how to think about the body. And so that's some of what you'll see in drawing. I'll try and go through this kind of quickly. Western Comics Essentials. I tried to strip this down, but you get a 200-page PDF. There is not a quiz, I'm going to tell you. And again, because there's just such a rich history, and it's only Western, it's only English. I mean, if we went deeper, there would be a 700-page comic. It's stuff we want you to read, and maybe that'll be next year's project, is to give you find a way to compile all of our favorite stuff from across the globe. But anyway, and that's also 6 sessions long, starting from 1895 and going into the, here you're talking about the 30s, you're talking about the 40s, now you're talking about the 50s, the 70s, et cetera, et cetera. That'll take you into October. In mid-October, we'll start with backgrounds, environments with Justine. We'll do ideas and vision with me. And again, 6 different sessions, 1 week at a time. There's Emma's Modern Comics Exploration. And then after that, starting in January, Inking and Vision. Here's Justine showing you this particular page in progress and outlining what's going on with certain kinds of lines. I was there filming her as she inked this particular page. And here she's just sort of describing it, but there you get to see her ink, and she's a master at this. It's just unreal, the things she's capable of. And then Comic Frontiers, again, another 6 weeks of stuff, and now we're talking about, now we're in March or so, and there's Emma's professional practices. And then cohort mentoring is what we start in April, I think, or March. And that's pretty much it. So I just want to give you a quick overview. That is so unbelievably quick, because it's going to take you 9 months to get through all that. I'm going to stop my sharing. I'm going to put myself back on the screen. Emma, any comments on that?
Well, I just think in terms of, you did show like the kind of this. Can you hear me now?
Oh, wait. Oh my God. I think hang on. I got to pause somebody. There it is. I'm still here. Can you hear me now?
Okay, I can hear you.
I had one of those videos still playing in the background, and
amazing.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say that, you showed there's a large amount, like a really large amount of content there. That's an example of people being able to pick and choose. Like, there are things that will be signposted as like, this is absolutely necessary, but there will also be signposts to say, hey, if you have time, if you're someone who has more than 4 hours a week, here is more information for you to access. There was another question in the chat about what will we have access through the SOAR digital archive. So, well,
I mean, there's a ton of stuff. I'll tell you, there's 2 answers to that. One is the stuff that's in the history course, which there's a 200-page PDF and links to even more. And then we usually give you access to a Dropbox folder that's like 3 gigabytes full of PDFs and stuff. But here's the thing, like, some of that's like illegal. Some of that's like, hey, I got a PDF of this comic. Oh, cool. Put it on the Dropbox. You know, nobody has come after us and said, hey, you can't provide that to your students or stuff. And it's almost always stuff that just came our way, because I know nothing about like how to actually steal comics online. Like, I'm always bad at it. I'm like, I wish I had a copy of that. And there's been years where I've asked a student, they're like, oh yeah, here, and they find it in 10 seconds. And I was like, I looked for 2 days for that comic. But there's a glorious amount of stuff in the Dropbox folder that we share with people. And sometimes I wake up at like 3 in the morning and I try and organize it a little more because it's a little disorganized. But as far as access to that, there's a ton of historical stuff in there. There's a ton of like, but there's also a ton of modern stuff and really kind of essential stuff. Again, I mean, like all of Mobius's stuff is there. That's totally illegal. But until anybody really tells us to remove it, it's still up there. So I don't know if that answers Kayla's question, but we do have a lot of access to it. We're not in the habit of doing that to, like if it's already out there on the internet, we'll just throw it in there and just organize it a little bit more. We certainly recognize that not all authors want that, so we'll remove it if they want. Go ahead, sorry.
No, I just know for myself, I made a really conscious effort for all my required readings. They'll be supplied either as a PDF or as like a digital link. So there isn't any expectation for people to go out and buy, you know, an excess amount of graphic novels. Like we want to provide that as legally as we can.
I mean, there's a long history in a program like this of providing I have my history one. Where is it?
You have like a binder full of reading materials?
Well, this is the history one. Like if you go out and print it, it's 200 pages. A long history of you taking a college level comics class and then telling you to go down to the copy store and pick this up, you know. And it's full of photocopies from other people's books and stuff like that. And this is, and it's totally within the bounds of traditional education. Anyway, so I think we should wrap this up if there's not more questions. Emma, I'm really just glad you're doing this with me, and I'm glad that we've managed to get people over here and over to our side. You know, I started this school, it seems like a million years ago, and I only say that because the world has changed so much, and I don't just mean since Trump and the pandemic and stuff. I mean, the world has changed a lot. When I started this school, it seemed like I was trying to make an alternative to art school, because art schools at the time were like $20,000 a year and that's the low end on some of them, like SVA or SCAD, and both of which I have respect for. I taught at SVA for 10 years. But I was like, you know, what's important is people learning from each other. What's important is doing work. What's important is access to resources. And that can be provided a lot more affordably. And so that's why I formed it in person. And then I was like, all we have to do is get people to come to Central Florida. and then we're good to go. And we got lots of people, and we got Emma that way, and we've got lots of others. You know what? I am gonna share my screen because I wanted to show a few testimonials, but I'll also speak at the same time. And then Emma, I'll give you a chance. I'm sorry I'm going on so long.
There was just a question about when's the last opportunity to enroll? So the course starts on September 7th. Can people enroll after that?
I know how it works. Everyone's gonna enroll the first week after the 7th. Because everybody's like, oh, I missed it. I hope it's not too late. But just know we're going to jack up the price to double.
We're not doing that. We promise.
Am I sharing my screen? I just wanted to show, these are some of the first students that we had. This is Anna, who said, I took one inking class with Justine and it changed my life. You can see how funky our first space was. Christmas lights hanging in the background. That clock, I'm sure didn't work. I don't know why that clock was there. This is on our website. You can see our testimonials. This is also one of our first students. I feel like every day I'm feeding a hunger I didn't even know was there before. And again, we started this school as an in-person school, and it's still an in-person school, and we're really proud of it. But we realized there was a way to transmit what we do online, because a lot of people aren't coming to Central Florida and can't uproot their lives for a year or however long. This is Sally. She was actually our first student. I sort of created the school in a way for her, which I can explain. Well, I'll explain it now. I knew Sally as a teenager. She took a teen class at the School of Visual Arts I was teaching at. So it was Saturdays. And she was coming from Jersey. This was in New York City. And she was one of the most talented cartoonists I've seen. And she would just draw page after page after page. And but she didn't have the resources to go to SVA, and some of her friends did, and I knew she was kind of bummed by it. And I was like, this is crazy. Somebody like Sally should be at a great art school and a great comic school, frankly, and just like banging out pages and getting better and better and better. And I was like, someday I'm going to make a school for her, and I did. And Sally was sort of the first one. And I mentioned Sally because she is sort of the first student. I call her student 0, but also she just came up in my thread a couple of days ago, or in that she's got this new book coming out that Bleeding Cool Comics is talking about. I Walk with Monsters, and that's her work there, and they're going on about it. And I'm just so proud of her. She just keeps putting out new great work, and she's such a great artist. So proud of her. And we've got tons more. Let me see if the testimonials are floating around here. More testimonials here. I don't think I need to read them to you. We're proud of what we do, and we hope you go searching for them. We're really proud of this online version of the program. And to be honest, we really want to do online and bring you down for a week or two here and there to even deepen that learning experience. But I don't know when that's going to happen for obvious reasons. Emma, did I interrupt? I think I did. Were you going to say anything?
No, I think that's everything. If people want to ask more questions or they want to find out more information, where do they go?
Hey, you know what? Sorry to interrupt. There's a chat window and a Q&A window. Did you know that?
I didn't.
I'm always finding new things. So Amy Lou, who has asked questions already, I think she's answered. Interesting. I'll answer that afterwards, but I think we mostly covered that. Mauricio is asking, what's the max enrollment? I don't know. I don't know if there's a max enrollment. I mean, if, as they say, if we suddenly get, 200 people signed up, that's a good problem to have. We'd have to hire some facilitators really fast, but I don't think that's going to happen. I will say that when we did the graphic novel group, we launched that in June, we had about 60 people in it. I think that's about as many as we can handle with that in that group. Emma's right, yeah. Like if there were too many more, but you know what? It's sort of filtered down. Like that first Zoom call was nuts because we had like 60 people all like popping over, So we're gonna mitigate that by having a little more structure in this round or in this course. Right now we have 40 enrolled. I would like to get it up to 60. Because I think there'll be little communities that'll form within that really well, and also I know some people like to lurk, and that's totally fine too. So I don't know if there's a max enrollment, but if it goes past frankly, if it goes past 60, I'll start to be like, okay, Emma, should we, cap this? Should we hire some more people to help facilitate? I don't know. So there's no real answer to that,
But we have found there is like a limit to the amount of people who are actively engaged all the time. Like, it's not like you're in a classroom interfacing with 60 people at once.
Right, right.
It's more like,
right.
It is still intimate, or at least that's been my experience.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember if I interrupted my own.
I think you were just about to tell people if they have questions, where do they go?
Oh, yeah.
Or
there's a lot of
ways. This
ways.
will be recorded, and we're going to host another Q&A, right, next week?
Oh yeah, and Miss Amy Lou was saying all her questions have been covered. That's great. Yeah, we will host this. I'll post this right away or soon, and we do want to do another one. We're thinking next week. For anybody, we'll probably do that one in the evening because not everybody can get away in the afternoon. I know and I were talking. I think we were talking about next Wednesday, right? Wednesday afternoon. I mean evening.
Yeah.
Anyway, these people don't need to know about the next one. But we're really excited. It is starting soon, and yeah, you know, some people will jump in on that first week or two, and they'll have to catch up. But pretty soon after that, it's going to be too late because you're going to be too far behind. So if this is something that you know, if you think it's time to dive in, and you know, I'm going to say one last thing. I started this school because it was the school I wish I'd gone to. I was that young student who was stuck, right? You know, who had certainly energy and some tiny amount of talent, not a lot, but such a desire to learn how to do this, and I couldn't find the right school. I went. It doesn't matter what I did, but I couldn't find the right school. But I sort of set it in my intention to create a school for people who are in that situation. So if you're in that situation where you know it's out there, you know that like that work you want to create is in front of you, you just can't get there. If you know those like new skills are out there and new ways of being an artist in the world is out there, then yeah, maybe this program's for you, and we're here for you. We're starting September 7th. We'd love to see you sign up. We will answer any questions. I'll just send them to Emma. No, it's not. We'll figure out who would best answer it and whatever. Emma, do you have any final things you want to say? I want to thank everyone who is attending. Thank you. Emma?
No, thanks for organizing it, Tom. Thanks for having us.
Okay, we went exactly to 3:03. Okay, we're gonna end this call. We're gonna save the video. And again, send us emails and let us know if you're interested in it, and we can help you. We can help you get there. All right. And Emma, nice to see you, by the way.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.